Hello, I'm Kim Becker, a representative with the Daily Herald editorial board. We're pleased to begin an interview today with candidates for the Forest Preserve District of DuPage County District 6, candidates for the November 5th general election. We have Republican and incumbent Al Murphy with us today and challenger Democrat Rick Gieser. Thank you, gentlemen. I'd like to
Thank you.
start by asking you to describe your background, qualifications, and things you would like to achieve in the upcoming term. Al, we'll start with you.
Well, I've been a commissioner for the last 10 years, and I've enjoyed my time on the board immensely. Growing up, I grew up in the area. I'm a lifelong resident of DuPage County, and I grew up using the preserves as a young man and child growing in the area. And I also raised my family. I have three children, or three adult children now. Two of my sons, while they were growing up, were Eagle Scouts, and I had a daughter that was very active outdoors, etc. Work.
3, 2, 1, go.
I've got a problem with my phone. If you can give me a second, I can get it hooked into a chart.
Go.
Hi, I'm Al Murphy. I've been your Forest Preserve Commissioner for the last 10 years. I've grown up and raised my family here in DuPage County. I have three children, three adult children. My daughter was featured by the Department of Natural Resource magazine for a program called Hike a Baby. My two sons were Eagle Scouts, so we spent a lot of time while my kids were growing up in the preserves, hiking, etc., camping, and enjoying the nature, whether it be on a bike hike or riding our bikes through the many trails, or just camping in the preserves, or just going out and enjoying and relaxing in the natural settings. I'm a small businessman. I own Murphy Ace Hardware right here in West Chicago. So I have a lot of business experience running governments, etc. I was also a former alderman for the city of West Chicago, and I felt the Forest Preserve was a great fit for me to be a commissioner. And apparently, the residents of DuPage County thought so also when they voted me into office numerous times. Um, that's what I think about, and those are the things I enjoy doing at the Forest Preserve.
Okay. Rick?
Hi, my name is Rick Gieser, and I am very passionate about the Forest Preserve. I have been going to the Forest Preserve in DuPage County my entire life. I grew up in Carroll Stream, and forest preserves have been a place of relaxation, recreation, and rejuvenation my entire life. Long before I even decided to run for this position, my wife and I were featured on the website of the DuPage County Forest Preserve for visiting all the forest preserves with trails and with parking lots. Had an article in the Daily Herald and was featured on WGN radio. I believe something that makes me uniquely qualified for this position is that I have governmental experience. I've spent nearly 20 years as a town councilman, a village trustee in the village of Carroll Stream. I know how to deal with a budget. I know how to juggle the requests of residents with the financial availability. I know how to prioritize projects, and I will bring that experience to this position. Also, what uniquely qualifies me is that I'm a professional communicator. I've worked in broadcasting and in public relations for nearly 40 years. And I will proactively work with the residents attending meetings, governmental and community meetings, to share the experiences and the needs of the forest preserve, making sure people are aware of what's going on with the forest preserve. There's more things going on in the forest preserve than just trails and recreation. And we may go into some of this, but there's nuance. So I will be able to communicate complex issues, scientific issues, with the residents. I mean, the commissioners, besides just administering recreation and restoration, they have landfills they are responsible for. So I have experience working with governmental agencies. I have experience working with scientific topics, and I believe I would be a perfect fit for this position.
Okay, thank you. Al, you and the other commissioners voted to place a referendum question on the ballot seeking a tax increase for the district, asking voters to approve $17 million to acquire more land and for long-term stability. Explain your position and why you feel a referendum is necessary at this time.
Well, over the years, I've seen the landfill trust fund get spent down by different boards of the forest preserve, and it's being spent down at an alarming rate. And I felt that we needed to uh, do something to preserve the landfill trust funds, but also we needed to leave it up to the voters to decide. The forest preserve in the last 10 years hasn't raised their levy at all. As a matter of fact, in 2014, the forest preserve took in $54 million from property taxes. In 2023, the forest preserve took in $51 million from property taxes. We've done a good job of spending less, taking care of our preserves, but also doing it with fewer people. All right. We've done a great job of managing the public's money over the last 10, 15 years. However, things have changed drastically because of COVID and other reasons, economic reasons. The cost of doing business has gone up tremendously in the last 10 years. And we felt it was best if we brought it forward for the taxpayers to decide whether to approve this increase or not and to move forward from that point on. But as a commissioner, I cannot come out and say we have to have this or push for the referendum. I have to let the voters decide. It eliminates any conflict of interest, and it's up for the voters to decide whether they want to pay an extra little less than $12 per $100,000 of value on their home to keep the forest preserve running vibrantly and moving forward in the right direction down the road. There are many things that comprised of that increase, whether it be land acquisition, whether it be just basic running the preserves, funding year to year, let alone capital projects. So if the referendum is approved, it would allow us to do land acquisition, capital projects, as well as pay our day-to-day bills and keep the forest preserve running. But it's up to the voters to decide.
Commissioner Murphy, if I could interject, at least one other incumbent said how he would be voting as a resident in the election. Will you be voting yes as a district resident?
I have to because I am a commissioner. Being
that person is a commissioner too.
Right. Personally, I support it. Personally, as a commissioner, I cannot come out and support it with my commissioner's position. It's a tricky slope, but I was told by the legal counsel at the Forest Preserve that I cannot take a stance as the commissioner. Did I answer your question on that regards? Yes, I will be voting yes for it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Rick, do you support or oppose a referendum? Why or why not?
I do support it. I do believe this will enable the district to do many things that will enhance the experience for residents and set the district in solid financial status. There's limited land left in DuPage County for open space. And having the residents vote affirmatively on this will give the district an opportunity to acquire some of these last remaining wide stretches of land that are adjacent to existing forest preserves uh, to create um, to create additional open space, which can help the community in a variety of ways, everything from climate change to just relaxation for people.
Okay, thank you. That leads me to my next question. Do you think the district should be buying more land? Why or why not, Rick?
If the district has done the research, if they have determined that it makes sense financially and environmentally, then I think they should. There are a few pieces of land, and some have been publicly discussed and written about on your pages, um, that that are in the news, and some of these do make sense to create additional open space for the future generations. Um, I think if there's an opportunity, the district and the commissioners should definitely. I think it would be derelict if they didn't at least consider it.
All right, Al?
Could you repeat the question?
Sure. Do you think that the district should purchase more land? Why or why not?
Oh, I definitely think they should purchase more land. But one of the things is it's going to be up for the voters to decide whether we move forward with the referendum, generate the money from the referendum, and move forward to purchase more land. I feel it's a good idea to purchase more land. God stopped making land a long time ago. And the available property here in DuPage County is getting smaller and smaller and smaller by the day. All right. We've got to take action to get the property. And we also must look at our staff to rate it properly so that we're not pursuing property that's not going to be in the best interest of the forest preserve. We have a great staff of ecologists, etc., and they actually rate the parcels individually and give it on a scale. And we need to look at what we can get the biggest bang for our buck, ecologically, land-wise, acreage, etc. And yes, we should go forward, definitely.
All right, thank you. How do you define the district's role in preserving and operating historic properties and buildings? Al?
Um, it's a catch-22 question to a degree. The thing you got to realize is we're in the forest preserve business, not the historical district, not in the not in the building preservation business, but the forest preserve. Education, conservation, and recreation are our key areas that we need to focus on. You know, you buy a building or you buy land with a building on it, and suddenly people attach a historical significance to it, even though in my mind there may not be any, but in their minds it is. And it's old buildings are different things to different people. And to call them everything historic, well, everything is historic, but when do we apply our resources to the building versus preserving the forest, preserving the fauna, preserving for future generations the land and the forest and the environment versus a historical building, which oftentimes turns into a big money pit and a big hole that we just pour money down. I'm more about preserving the land and the forest and the fields for today's generation as well as tomorrow more than I am about the buildings.
Okay, Rick?
I think it's incumbent upon the commissioners to assess each piece of each building that they have acquired and to do the analysis to determine, one, is it truly historic? And another thing is to determine what the financial obligations are to restore it and or to renovate it. Um, the district has done an incredible thing through the years. It tells an incredible story about the history of the county, both natural history and cultural history. Forest preserves have been built upon old homesteads, on the sites of old mills, on the sites of ancient burial sites. And I believe it's our responsibility to at least do the research and do the analysis to see if the buildings are truly historic. And one example, you were talking about the referendum earlier. The Mays Lake property was purchased many years ago through funds through a referendum. Now, the building was part of it. And so the residents of the community said that building, in their opinion, needed to be restored. So I believe the it was incumbent, and I've said that word a few times, upon the commissioners to continue to restore that building. Now there are other buildings throughout that need to be assessed, and that might be an opportunity for community partnerships. I know the property in the Churchill, there's some partnerships being developed right now, and some funds through congressional delegations that have been utilized there. And so we should take a look at grants, partnerships, collaboration. But at first, as an organization, need to determine if a building truly is historic and if it needs to be saved, restored, or renovated.
Okay. So along those same lines, I mean, we've got the McKee House that, people are talking about for having, a cultural center for Indigenous people. In the 1840s Baker House sits along St. Charles Road in West Chicago, or near West Chicago. So should the district spend taxpayer money to see if they can do something with that? Perhaps, use at least for an interior use, because you have these buildings on these properties just languishing, which seems kind of sad, but do you feel like you should be using taxpayer dollars to at least see if you can utilize them somehow? Rick?
We should look to see a building like that has been utilized through the years for various things. There may be, again, I'm not on the inside at this point, so I'd have to find out if maybe there has been an analysis of that building and at this time. The Baker House is in our district. It's in the heart of District 6. And I remember going horseback riding there as a child. I remember utilizing the stables around there for hay rides and other things for many years. I believe if it's been determined that it is historic, as I said before, and if it is not cost prohibitive, we should definitely take a look at restoring if we can. But at the same time, the mission is the flora, the fauna, the fish, and the fowl of the forest preserve. But if if the district has acquired these buildings, there is a responsibility to do the due diligence.
All right, Al?
One of the problems you've got, like that old building, the Baker House, is ADA accessibility, etc. And then if you do rehab the inside, you have to have programming, and all that means is more tax dollars and more tax dollars and more tax dollars. And I think the nearby Klein Creek Farm is a classic example of a place that we have a great education center in our district. And we need to say, you know what, let's concentrate our fire on the good things, or concentrate our money on the good things that we can make easy, turnkey, and make these places great, like the Klein Creek Farm. The Baker House is very nice looking on the outside, but I think it would turn into a very deep money pit if we tried to make something work on the inside of the house. It hasn't been used in years and years, decades even. And we already have education centers throughout DuPage County that we do apply our funds to. But you got to remember, the forest preserve pockets are only so deep, and also our taxpayers' pockets are so only so deep. I'm all for something that makes common sense, but this one, I think, right now, I do not see the funding being available to restore it further than it already is at this
And
time.
that may I jump in? And
Mhm.
that may be the case. That may be the case. But we need to look to determine rather than just, I mean, sometimes the commissioners and people in a position of authority as a commissioner, you need to make the tough decisions. And sometimes that tough decision is to look further. Yes, there are other education centers, and I wasn't advocating to turn that into an education center, but we do need to, if we have become the custodians and the caretakers of properties on the bill, we have to make a proper assessment and at least be able to tell our constituents, tell the taxpayers that we have looked into it, we have analyzed it, and this is the situation.
Much of that has already been done. The Baker House has been vacant for the last 20 years after being fixed up, and we looked at it. We've examined the cost of doing the inside, but it just wasn't feasible. And we have to make good choices and common sense choices for the taxpayers as well as the district. All
I
right.
think we can agree on common sense that, but she brought up the Baker House in specifically, and this would be an opportunity for maybe the district and the commissioners to proactively get out there and let the residents know what's happening with that building, and why it is just sitting in the condition that it is.
Okay. The development of the East Branch of the DuPage River Trail is another long discussed project. What is the best route for such a regional trail, and should the district be doing more to advocate or to advance this project? Al?
Um, the for one thing, you got to remember you're working with limited budget,
Mhm.
and we still have to complete the West Branch Trail, and we haven't done so. The West Branch Trail bridge going over the Roosevelt Road and the DuPage River has had funding for the last 5 years. However, it's been put on the back burner while we did things like Willowbrook. Okay. And that's a problem I've asked repeatedly and pushed for this to proceed. And now we are finally making headway on it. We have over $5 million for the bridge construction. But one of the things you got to realize, the plans have been in place for the trails on both the west and the east branch, but it takes time and we've got to go slowly so the taxpayers can afford it, but also so it's well done and you have a lot of land acquisition to do on the east branch trail, whereas the west branch trail, it's pretty well all set to go. So we've got the trails on the west branch, but the east branch is going to take time and we need to baby steps, take it slow, and do it right.
So do you think the West Branch is a greater priority?
It is because one, it's in my district. Two, it has about a mile segment to make it a complete trail system that has to be completed. And we've got the funding, it just has to be pushed and gotten done.
Okay. Rick?
From what I understand on the East Branch, there is still some land acquisition issues as well as elevation issues with the way the railroad and the old railroad beds are through that area. So I would have to get additional information and study that further. Again, I have not been concentrating on that since it is not in District 6, but in District 6, I have been looking into the West Branch trail system, and that definitely needs to be done. And speaking with residents, access to the forest preserves that would connect from the West DuPage Woods into the Blackwell Forest Preserve, which would then ultimately lead to the regional trail to the north and the south, would be something that would be beneficial to the residents for their recreational needs, as well as beneficial to the entire county as far as climate change. It could encourage people to get off their roads and get on their bikes to travel to and from the work and or to their places of enjoyment.
All right, thank you. Are you satisfied with the overall direction of the district, Rick?
Um, I am. I'm very hopeful and feeling very positive about some of the things that have been happening in the forest preserve. What I would like to see is more discussion of trails. That's the one thing residents keep talking to me about is trails. And as I mentioned, as we both mentioned, the West Branch Trail system is one that people really want to see done. I believe that if the referendum is passed by the residents, we will be in a better position financially to complete some of the projects that are needed to restore and renovate the forest, as well as provide access, as well as provide education to the residents. So I am pleased with the direction at this point. But there are, as I get more involved, there will be tweaks that I would like to see. I'd need, I'd mentioned landfills in the earlier part of this conversation, and we need to discuss that a little more because I know there are things that we could be utilizing as stewards of the landfills, as caretakers of the landfills, that we might be able to generate some energy from. And I think we need to push and I would be an advocate to determining if we could make some additional monies on some of the things in the landfills.
By generating alternative energy.
Alternative energy, yeah, there are some things that are released and that could be utilized and monetized.
All right, thank you. Al?
Well, the Forest Preserve has got many plans of future trails, future growth, etc. But like I said, we need to take baby steps, take it slow. A lot of it's going to depend on the referendum. If the referendum gets approved, we can move forward with land acquisition, we can move forward with capital projects, and we can also move forward with having better trained staff, more staff, and make things work better. Rick brought up an interesting point, the landfills. Since I've been on board with the district as a commissioner, we have made great progress. We've got Blackwell Forest Preserve delisted from the federal watch list, meaning we're doing things right at the preserve. If you've been out to Blackwell lately, you'll see that they are installing new wells as well as gas collection system for the methane gas and the leachate. This is just one of the two landfills that are closed in District 6 that we need to monitor, keep investing in so we don't run into future problems. The thing you got to realize with the landfills is we don't know everything that's buried in there. And the landfill is like a 2-liter Coke bottle that's always being shaken. It's producing methane gas and it's also pushing leachate off of the reservation or off of the landfill without taking those proper maintenance steps. But since I've been in office, we've developed leachate treatment systems. We have a photosynthesis system working down at Mallard North where we take the leachate, pump it up above ground, and feed trees with it. The trees absorb the leachate and clean it. And it's a revolutionary, first of the kind, cutting edge treatment system that we're doing at Mallard North. The landfills are one of the, hold on.
Go.
We've made some great advances at the landfills, but the district overall is going in the right direction. All right. If the referendum passes, which I believe it will, we'll be able to acquire more land and continue on with our mission. One of the things you got to realize with the Forest Preserve it has what's called the 90-10 rule. 90-10 means 90% preservation, 10% recreation. We try and fulfill that with all of our holdings that we have. Blackwell being one of those preserves where it is an extremely large preserve. It has a lot of recreational amenities, but right next to it is Herrick Lake, which has a small footprint as far as recreation goes, but yet it has a vast amount of land in its possession. And that's one of the great things. It's preserving nature, preserving the natural filters that we have with the forest preserve, and that is it's a natural air purifier. It takes CO2 and converts it to oxygen just through photosynthesis with the trees, let alone what it does for water purification and the water table in the areas. You know, the floodplains, the what natural water areas that we have are great assets, and it's a great replenisher for Earth's environment and the environment in which we live. And just from people using the preserve, sometimes construction workers, AT&T workers, utility workers will pull in and have a lunch and just relax at the forest preserve, let alone your average citizens. They can go and take in fresh air and just relax, reflect on the day, remove tension from their bodies, etc. So a lot of things that we take for granted, the forest preserve does. And it's a great asset for DuPage County. It is the biggest and greatest asset of DuPage County.
That's one of the things with the science. We had talked about science, and one of the things I like about the forest preserve is that they are taking a science-based approach. Everything from preserving, saving, and preserving things throughout the land, species with the Blanding's turtles, with the emerald Heinz dragonfly, the amazing work they're doing at the Urban Stream Research Center on the propagation of freshwater mussels, which are the lungs of the river system. You know, I'm so optimistic of the things that they're doing in the forest preserve because of the science that they're trying to achieve and that they're following.
Thank you. So what distinguishes you from your opponent, and why should voters support you? Rick?
Well, I think what distinguishes me is that I have that experience in municipal government. Again, I'm not on the inside, so I will have to learn a few things, but I have experience with budgets. I have experience in juggling resident needs as long as with the financial realities. I have worked collaboratively with residents, with organizations, with governmental agencies. I have that experience, and what uniquely qualifies me is that I will communicate this. I will proactively communicate this with the residents. I've already talked to a number of the mayors within the district, but I will be attending their meetings to update them on what's going on within the district, not just the forests that abut them, but within the district within the Forest Preserve District in District 6. I will also continue to communicate by attending community groups, as everything from homeowners associations to street parties, and I will continue my online communication, sharing the positive mission of the Forest Preserve, and talking to the residents one-on-one to find out how they want their information. The Forest Preserve did a survey last year, found out that residents really do like the Forest Preserve, but they want the commissioners to do a better job to get the word out to them. I will be an ambassador. I will be the representative of the resident to get the word out, to let them know what's going on. No, you can't guarantee everybody's going to read or get the information you are presenting, but you can at least give it a try. I will be attending meetings. I will be sharing information online, and I will be the ambassador for the residents.
Okay, thank you. Al?
Well, day to day, I am there for the public. I own Murphy Ace Hardware in West Chicago, and I'm there working 6 days a week. And I have residents frequently come in to see me with problems and questions at the Forest Preserve, and I'm there for them as a resource. I have that availability that they can come in and see me anytime, anywhere, any place with a problem. My cell phone number is even posted on the Forest Preserve website. All right. I've been attending meetings. I've been to city government. I've spent 10 years as an alderman for the city of West Chicago, alderman at large, had several different wards. So I'm very well versed in it. All right. The biggest thing I think that we both bring a good amount of municipal government experience to the Forest Preserve. But one of the things that sets me apart from Rick is I've got endorsements from the mayor of Winfield, the mayor of West Chicago, the mayor of Carroll Stream, the mayor of Hanover Park, the mayor of Wayne, the mayor of Bartlett. They all have given me an endorsement for my campaign because they know the job that I do. I give it 130% of my time and effort into anything that I do. I may not always give you the right answer that you want to hear, but I'm going to give you the honest answer. All right. And that I think is what people really want out of their municipal government leaders is honest, straightforward, common sense thinking and approaching. I've got a track record already. I've been your commissioner. We've kept your taxes low. We've kept the preserves open, and we've grown the preserves. We've added new trails. We've added bridges. We've added amenities for the residents to use. But I will go back to a couple of things. We put in 2 nature preserves since I've been the commissioner in my district. Those are areas that are preserved just for nature. But I'm a believer in the 90-10 rule. 90% preservation, 10% recreation. After all, we're not the park district, we're the Forest Preserve.
Right.
Yes. I too have been endorsed by many people. I've been endorsed by county board members within the district. I've been endorsed by congressmen. I've been endorsed by mayors. I've been endorsed by others throughout the area as well. But the biggest endorsement, I believe, that I will get, and I believe that we deserve, are from the residents. And I'm just asking for your vote on November 5th.
Right. Thank you. Well, that concludes our interview. Again, we've been speaking with Republican Al Murphy and Democrat Rick Gieser, candidates for the Forest Preserve District of DuPage County District 6 in the November 5th general election. Thank you for your time, gentlemen, and we thank you for watching. We hope you will use the Daily Herald and dailyherald.com as part of your candidate research. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.